Okay, so 30 days. That's the countdown you're facing for your IELTS exam. And yeah, you've sent over the materials you're using.
Right. 30 days isn't long.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
So our mission here today on the deep dive, it's pretty clear. We're going through these resources to pull out the absolute best advice, the crucial stuff, to help you really prepare effectively in just 1 month.
Exactly. We need to make every bit of study time count.
We'll hit all 4 sections, right? Reading, listening, writing, and speaking. So let's just jump right in. What's the first big thing for reading?
Well, looking at the materials, a really strong theme, maybe the strongest for reading, is getting help. Finding a teacher.
Oh, okay.
And doing it, like, now. Not waiting until the last week or something.
Yeah, the sources really hammered that point. There's this danger of realizing too late, like, oh, I actually don't get this question to type at all. And then, boom, time's up.
Precisely. And a good teacher, they can speed things up massively. They help you understand the different questions, how the test is put together. It's not just about practice. It's about understanding the exam.
Makes sense. It's like learning the rules of the game, not just playing it over and over.
Right. And that understanding, the sources suggest, can really bump up your score.
Okay, teacher first. But the materials also mention something else for reading. Broader habits, like reading newspapers.
Yeah, that's another key point. It's not just about IELTS prep books, reading things like newspapers, magazines, online articles, that kind of stuff.
And the benefit there is.
Yeah. Well, it does a few things. It helps your reading speed, naturally. You pick up more vocabulary. You see grammar used correctly. And interestingly, it can even give you ideas, things to talk or write about later in the speaking and writing sections.
Ah, okay. So it feeds into the other parts too, like reading an opinion piece might help you structure an argument.
Exactly that. You see how arguments are built, how evidence is used. It's all good practice, even if it doesn't look like a typical IELTS question.
So it's a mix then, this broad reading plus actual test practice.
Definitely. You absolutely need to practice with real IELTS reading questions. Purposeful practice, as the sources call it.
Purposeful, meaning?
Meaning not just doing tests blindly. And again, doing this with a teacher can make it much more effective. They can guide you on strategies for different question types, really help you nail down the techniques.
Right. And it's not just about getting the answer right either, is it? The materials mentioned, reviewing.
Hugely important. This came up again and again. Don't just do a practice test, mark it, and move on.
So what should you do?
You need to understand why the right answer is right. And maybe even more useful, figure out exactly why the answers you got wrong are wrong.
Ah, okay. Analyze the mistakes.
Yes. Otherwise, you might just keep making the same kinds of errors. That review process is where a lot of the learning happens. Avoids just, spinning your wheels.
Learning from the errors makes perfect sense. Okay, let's switch gears. IELTS listening. The sources said it's kind of similar to reading.
Yeah, there's a definite parallel. That idea of building broad habits applies here, too.
So listening to?
Things like news broadcasts, radio, TV, whatever. News podcasts are great, too. Documentaries basically get used to hearing English spoken naturally in different contexts.
And this general listening, how does it help with the specific test questions?
Well, stronger overall listening comprehension just makes everything easier. But specifically, it really helps with those fill-in-the-blank questions you often get in IELTS listening.
Right, where you have to catch specific words or numbers.
Exactly. If you're comfortable listening generally, you're much better placed to pick out those details accurately.
And, like with reading, the advice is also to review the practice tests.
Yes, same principle. Really analyze your listening practice. Why did you miss that word? Why did you pick the wrong option?
Trying to get inside the test designer's head a bit.
Kind of, yeah. You start seeing patterns, you understand what kind of traps or distractors they use. Understanding why the wrong answers are tempting but wrong is, again, often more valuable than just knowing the right answer.
So you get better at anticipating what they're testing.
Precisely. And that understanding can make a real difference on test day.
Okay, so listening habits plus careful review of practice. Got it. Now, writing. This seems to be where the sources really dialed up the get a teacher advice.
So absolutely. If there's one section where getting professional guidance is flagged as like step number 1, it's writing.
Why is it so critical here?
Well, the sources point out you need someone to explain the different task types properly. The essays in academic, the letters in general training, analyzing charts.
Right, they're quite different.
Very different. And a teacher can clarify exactly what the examiners are looking for in each one, and crucially, what not to do. What common mistakes drag scores down.
And the materials specifically warned against.
Templates. memorizing structures.
Yes. A big warning sign there.
Yeah.
It seems tempting like a shortcut, right?
Totally.
But the sources are clear. Examiners are trained to spot template answers. If your response doesn't directly, specifically answer the question you were given, you'll lose marks. Templates just aren't flexible enough.
So if templates are out, what's the alternative?
It comes back to instruction, practice, and feedback.
No.
Get clear guidance on how to approach each task type, then practice writing them, and then, this is key, get detailed feedback from your teacher.
Feedback, okay.
It's that cycle. Learn, apply, get feedback, refine. That's how you build the skill.
The sources also had an interesting point about prioritizing.
Mm-hmm.
Was a task achievement before grammar.
Yeah, that's a really practical piece of advice. Task achievement basically means, did you understand the question and did you answer it fully?
Addressing all parts of the prompt.
Exactly. The suggestion is to focus on getting that right first. Like, make sure your ideas are relevant, your structure makes sense for the question. While grammar is definitely important for higher scores, you can often make quicker gains by improving your organization and how directly you answer the question. You can fix grammar over time, but getting the core response right is fundamental.
Okay, that makes sense. Focus on answering the question first. And when you get that writing feedback, how should you use it effectively?
Don't just look at the score. The materials really stress this. Look at the specific comments. Are you always making mistakes with articles? Or past tenses? Or prepositions?
Identify your patterns.
Yes. Identify those recurring errors and actively work on fixing them. That's how you improve, not just by getting a number back.
So that focused feedback plus the broad reading we talked about earlier, that combination could really work in a month.
That's the idea. The sources connect these. Reading lots of good English helps your writing subconsciously, and then targeted feedback helps you fix your specific weak spots.
And good feedback isn't just pointing out mistakes, right?
No. Effective feedback, according to the materials, should do a few things. Identify errors, yes, but also point out what you did well. And crucially, explain how your writing measures up against the official IELTS criteria.
Okay. Writing strategy. Teacher, understand tasks, no templates, practice, focus on task achievement, and really use the feedback.
Got it. Let's move to the last one, speaking.
Right, and the sources actually note a link between writing and speaking.
Oh yeah, how so? Well, the idea is that as you get better at organizing your thoughts logically for writing, that skill can transfer to speaking. You become clearer, more coherent when you talk too.
That makes sense. Structure helps everywhere.
Definitely. And again, surprise, surprise, teacher feedback is highlighted as really important for speaking.
What kind of feedback specifically for speaking?
The sources mention things like extending your answers, not giving short, abrupt replies, using a good range of grammar and vocabulary accurately, getting your past tenses right when talking about past events,
Okay.
and pronunciation too, specifically mentioning sentence stress.
Sentence stress. Tell me more about that. Why is that singled out?
Well, the idea isn't that flat delivery is grammatically wrong, but using sentence stress, emphasizing certain words in a sentence, makes your speech flow better. It sounds more natural, more dynamic.
Like adding rhythm.
Exactly. It adds expression and can apparently contribute to a better score because it improves fluency and engagement. Like saying, I'm going home, puts the emphasis on the destination.
Interesting detail. The sources also talked about mindset for the speaking test. Something about relaxing.
Yes, a really important psychological point. Don't get stressed about finding the right answer.
Because there isn't one.
Exactly. The examiners just want to hear your ideas, your opinions expressed clearly. The example used was about, say, the government and healthy eating. There's no single correct opinion. Just talk about your view.
Just communicate effectively.
That's the goal. Be clear, be fluent, use good language. Your actual opinion isn't being judged.
Okay, that's reassuring. And one last thing for speaking mock tests.
Strongly recommended in the materials.
Why are they so helpful?
Mainly because they simulate the real thing. You get used to the timing, the types of questions, the pressure of talking one-on-one. It helps manage anxiety.
Practice under pressure.
Yeah. So you feel more comfortable and confident when the actual test day arrives. It reduces the unknown factor.
Okay, brilliant. We've covered a ton of ground based on your materials. If we were to boil this all down for someone with just 30 days, what are the absolute core takeaways?
Right. Let's recap the essentials from the sources. 4 main things seem critical. First, get help. Find a good IELTS teacher. Seriously consider it, especially for writing and speaking.
Okay, number 1, teacher. Second, build habits. Consistent reading newspapers, magazines, and listening news, podcasts, documentaries. broad exposure helps everything.
Right. Habits, number 2.
Third, practice and review. Do actual IELTS questions, but don't just do them. Review them. Understand why answers are right or wrong. Learn from mistakes.
Practice plus analysis, number 3. And fourth, get feedback and use it, especially for writing and speaking. Pay attention to the details of the feedback and actively work on those specific points. Don't just look at the score.
Internalize the feedback. Number 4. Got it. And there was a checklist mentioned.
Yes, the sources mentioned a Get Started checklist designed to help organize study over these 30 days. You'll find a link to download that in the description.
Perfect. Look, prepping for IELTS in just a month, it's definitely going to feel intense, no doubt about that.
That's for sure. It's a sprint.
But hopefully, digging into these materials like this gives you some really clear, actionable things to focus on.
Absolutely. And maybe that leads to a final thought for you, the listener. Thinking about those 4 key takeaways: getting help, building habits, practice plus review, and using feedback. Which one of those feels like your strongest area right now? And maybe more importantly, which one could you focus on, like today, to make the biggest positive difference in these final 30 days? Something to really think about.